Hello, welcome to Studio Nicole. I'm Nicole, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today. I thought it would be fun to go back through. This is my first ever art journal. The first one. This is my origin story, y'all. This is so much fun. Um, this is a Jane Davenport journal. I probably got it at Michael's. That's where I get most of my stuff. It is falling apart, as you can see. Pages are separating from the spine. So, I guess it's a good thing that it's finished and retired and all it has to do is sit on my shelf because it's not up to much more than that. But I did think that it's always fun to kind of go back and look at older works and kind of see your evolution and see your growth. I also think that it's really important to recognize some of the bad art that you've made in the past. I think that a lot of the reason people don't get into art or that they abandon art as a hobby or a profession is because they think they're not good enough. And so I think we really need to challenge the expectation that every piece of art you make is going to be fantastic. The truth is, some of it's going to be terrible. I can look at mine old, works and definitely cringe over some of them. So we'll see those in here. There are definitely some cringe-worthy pages in this journal, and that's okay. Like, I think that, making bad art is part of the process. When you sit down to paint something or create something and you have a blank page and a paintbrush, you think that you are going on a trip, right? And you want to get to Orlando or New York City. And then when you go through the process of making the art, but you end up in Albuquerque or Cleveland instead, right? Instead of where you were going, I'm saying you, but really I have had this happen myself. We tend to think that we have failed, that we've taken a wrong turn, that this is not what we were intending to do, that we're not very good at this, and we should, maybe perhaps give up. But I think that that's the wrong metaphor, and I would encourage you to change your thinking a little bit. Instead of thinking about every piece of art as a trip with a destination, think about every piece of art as one step. Like literally one footstep forward towards New York or Orlando or wherever it is you want to go, right? You are not going to take that trip in every single piece of art. You are merely working towards that end goal. And every step you take is valuable, even if it's terrible, even if it's bad art, even if you hate it, you are learning something from it. You are practicing your techniques and your strategies. You're going to get there if you just keep taking those steps one at a time, right? Okay, off my soapbox. Let's dive into this journal. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to scoot this off to the side and these off to the side and maybe bring this down a little bit. How's that? All right, let's take a look. This is my first ever art journal page. Life is an Adventure was a rubber stamp. I used some napkins and a lot of mixed media techniques that I have been watching on YouTube from other artists. So there is a collage background, there's some mark making, there's some stamping, there's some stenciling that came out very muddy. I stamped onto book pages and used that as my sort of focal words. And I tried a Pitt Artist pen to give it some shading, but I didn't like the brown. So I ended up using black. And the black was not like smearable. So it ends up with just a very hard, crisp black line. And I don't love that. Um, but again, this is just part of the process, right? This is just learning what we like and what we don't like and what we can do next time. This was, just in case it matters, the date that I was stamping at the time. Many of these are stamped. January 1st, 2019. So that was my little subheader there, was welcome 2019. I think this might have been the year that I wanted more art in my life. Like that was my New Year's resolution. I don't really do resolutions, but I had like an intention for the year and I wanted to bring more art into my life because I have been artsy and crafty for a long time, but I really wanted to be more intentional about it. And so here we are. My first art journal page. This is my second page. I have some different techniques here. I have some modeling paste and some inks. I have some metallic inks, some silver, some stamping, like book page stamping and some words in the background. This is drywall tape and more ink. I don't love this page. I don't love it. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not the worst page I've ever made, but I don't think it has enough going on. Like it needs a focal point, I think, to bring it together. And I don't like these words just kind of floating off in the background by themselves, kind of randomly. Um, but you know, this is definitely not one of my favorites, but it's not like one of the worst. This one was um this was pretty good. I like the colors on this. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of muted. I I think I was working obviously with a stencil, but I can't remember if I don't know. I can't quite remember exactly how I did this. I think this round circle here is cut out of a coloring page, and I colored the background with maybe some watercolor and then stenciled over top of that with white gesso. And then I did a reverse on this side with the watercolor on the stencil and then kind of squished it onto the page. Does that seem right? Maybe not. Maybe I was trying to watercolor through the stencil. I don't know. It's definitely not very crisp, but it's not terrible. It could be a lot worse. Um, don't wait for sleep to dream. Not bad. Got some handwriting around the outside. This one is a page of magazine images that I cut out with a punch. Um, is it hexagonal? I don't know. Possibly punch. And I cut out lots of different pictures, and you can see like these are just magazine pages. And then I used an embossing gun and some gold embossing powder to outline the intersections, like the edges of each one, and the word adventure across the front. I actually mixed some embossing powder, so some of the embossing is like in a blue and some of it's in a gold. I'm not sure that I love that. But I do kind of like the variation of colors. We've got some pinks and some sunsetty colors over here, and then it kind of goes up to like more blues up here and greens down in this corner. Uh, so I like it. I like the idea of it. I'm very much an outdoor adventure-y kind of person, so this page really speaks to me. This is one of my worst art journal pages ever. This is absolutely one of my least favorite pages I've ever done. It's got like a rainbow background. I start with some reds and then orange, yellow, green, blue, purple kind of across the page. And I love a rainbow motif. Um, I was trying to use these fancy letters, so I used the big M, and then I hand wrote the rest of the word magic because I didn't have little letters to keep going with the word. Um, I don't love that. I would have rather just handwritten out the whole thing. I don't like these stickers. That's like a fairy, maybe, and a dragonfly, and there's like a frog. They're dimensional. I just don't. I think they're too small, maybe, for the page. Maybe they need to be bigger. I did some modeling paste through a stencil over the background, and then it didn't stand out enough, so I tried to draw on it with pen. I don't love that. So there are a lot of things about this page I don't love. If I had to pick like my 5 least favorite pages, this would definitely be one of the 5. Um, yeah, don't love it. But we learn something from it. When we don't love what we've done, we learn from it and then our pages get better. So it is part of the process. This one was not terrible. I like the colors, the teal, the blue. There's definitely some metallic in there. I love this washi tape. I don't know that I love it used on the page like this, but I like it. Need to find a better way to use it. I love the stencil. Again, with some handwriting around the stencil. Be awesome. Nothing to complain about there. Some letter stenciling. This looks like maybe white gesso over the background and some stamping too. I think I had at this point early on, I think I only had a pink and a blue stamp pad um that I had gotten from maybe a swap online or something. So you'll notice a lot of, and I only had a handful of stamps either. So you'll notice a lot of this book page stamping on a lot of these pages. It's the same book page stamping that I have on the page here. So fairly successful. This one is kind of meh. I just layered some different elements on the page. This was from a travel ephemera, like scrapbooking pack. Cherish the little things. I do like the yarn and the little key attached. I like the clock gears and whatnot. I like how these pieces are layered. Like this frame is kind of behind this frame. I like how that turned out. Again, I don't think there's enough direction on the page. It feels like just a lot of elements and none of them really are very cohesive. But I don't hate it. This one it was an adventure. This is a napkin. I cut out the heart from the napkin and then kind of worked from there. This is a stencil, I think I filled in. There's some black and white washi tape in the background. And then I hand drew these little wonky swirly things, which actually I really, really like these. And I want to use them more in more of my art. It's not bad. We're into March of the year at this point. Um, this page is not fantastic, but it could be worse. I do like the idea of muting the background by outlining. I don't like the medium that I used to do that. I didn't do it very smoothly. And the words "enjoy the journey." These are stickers, letter stickers from like an old scrapbooking kit that I had, and I don't think that they fit the page very well. They're too small. But you know, this is a quote. You have to look with better eyes than that. If anybody knows the movie that's from, I would love to I would love for you to put that in the comments, and I'll have a fellow fan as a friend. That would be great. This one's not terrible. I think this is an interesting image. It works well as a focal point on the page. I've chosen some different sentiments to include in addition to my page title. The black and the white and the purple work well along with the contrast of a little bit of lime green here and there. It's, you know, it's fairly successful as a page. This is pretty bad. This one did not work out well. And I have reworked this page probably 3 or 4 different times, and I just can't get it to a place where I like it. The elements I just don't work together. This was like holographic paper that was probably a junk mail envelope. I'm pretty sure it was like American Express or something. And I loved the paper and I thought, definitely I will use this. So I used the same punch that I had used on the other page earlier for this one. But it just didn't come together the same way. It was, the colors were wrong. This washi tape didn't really mix with it. So I tried to mute it with the black, but now it just looks, I don't know. I just don't love it. There's a lot of reasons why I don't love it. But again, we are just learning. We are getting better a little bit every time. This page was surprisingly effective. It's pretty messy in the background. I have just a messy black background. These flowers were like blind contour drawn on watercolor paper, where I was looking at a picture of the flower on my phone, but I was not looking at the page where I was drawing. So I just drew very rough flower shapes and then went back and watercolored them in. My watercolor skills were pretty minimal at this point, too. Sorry about that. I had to pause you for a few minutes while my dog barked at nothing, as one does. Um, yeah, so my watercolor skills were not great here, but again, you're practicing, you're learning, and overall, I kind of like how it turned out. It looks like a garden. I like that this page really makes me feel um it's very floral, it's very bright. The colors work really well against the dark background. I like it. This one is sort of a mishmash of everything. I was working with these stencils in a couple of different ways. I have some drawn outlines and some stenciled marks. The color palette came from, I think this is a napkin that I was using kind of as a background. I think that's where the color palette came from. This is a stencil. Yeah, it's not terrible. I think I would like it to be maybe a little bit brighter. If I were redoing this today, I would definitely make it a little more vibrant. Just doesn't feel like it's got a lot of energy to it. This is actually one of my favorite pages ever. Honestly, I love this page. And really, this guy carries the whole thing. This is just a magazine image, but I was absolutely just taken with him. And so this is a quote from Hunter S. Thompson. I cut it out and let it take up the whole page. I think the word absolutely, probably from this either the same magazine spread or somewhere else in the same magazine nearby, really captures the feeling of this page. I used a circle motif on the background, so in some places I went in and put circles over the background, and in other places I used a baby wipe and pulled the paint up and off of the page in circles. And then there's a big circle kind of behind the words that ties it all together. I pulled the colors from his cap and from his shirt. So the blue and the reds really dominate the page. And I just love this. This is really one of my favorite art journal spread. This one, however, is not. I just don't love it. I don't even know what to say about it. It's just very muddy. Like nothing is really happening in the background. Um, the words don't really connect to anything. I tried to sort of go over the magazine image a little bit, but I didn't like the result. Not a favorite. This one has been reworked and it was originally not one of my favorites, but it got better over time. I like the end result of this better. The trouble is you think you have time. And I think that's just really powerful and that really speaks to me. So I've got the clock image and I do have some thread on this page which gives it some real dimension and depth. I've also done some sewing along the edge here. So there's some stitches. Yeah, I think this one's pretty successful. I like this. It's not my typical style. It's a little more grungy vintage than I usually do, but I like it. I think it turned out okay. This is another one of my favorites, actually. This is just beautiful and bright, and I love the colors. It's very vibrant. I know it doesn't necessarily show up on camera, but the colors are there's just so much energy on this page, and the colors are bright. So it says live life in color. I wrote this out using a big marker on construction paper or probably cardstock. And then I cut it out. I fussy cut it out, and then I put it on the page and I used it as a mask to darken around it. And then that didn't show up enough against the background. So I then used a white Posca pen to outline around where I had darkened. I went back in probably with, I want to say these are maybe acrylic inks or maybe the Bray-Reese alcohol inks and added some color inside. And then these are stickers. These are some washi stickers that are very shiny and shimmery. So yeah, this is another one of my favorite pages. I love this one. Nope. I really like this one too, actually. This is really gorgeous. This whole image comes out of a magazine, so I did not draw this. I cut it out of a magazine. I put it on this background with the purple and the blue. There is some modeling paste in here, so there's dimension to the page and texture to it. And I love the writing that I did on this. I don't usually do this with the little curlies on the letters, but it turned out beautifully, and I should absolutely do this more because I love it. I also did some gold leaf just kind of randomly on the page, and I really like how that comes through. So, yeah, this is another favorite. This one, meh. I was dripping ink, so I was like running the ink across here and letting it drip down the page. And then on this side, I dripped this way and let it run. I did some modeling paste through a stencil. And this is a stamp, a rubber stamp that I have. And then I layered on some words from a scrapbooking kit. I don't know. The colors are okay. It's not terrible, but it just doesn't really speak to me. It doesn't feel super exciting. And this one, I like the colors, but there's too much going on. Like, is this the focal point, or is this the focal point, or is this the focal point? This is it's just a mess. There's just too much happening. There's gold, and there's collage, and there's colors, and there's writing, and too much. Dial it back. Learn how to edit. This one was a simple page, but I really like it. This was from a book that I was reading or listening to at the time. I think it was like a Russian proverb, maybe. And so I did a page where the knight kind of you know, with some ombre. We like went from really, really dark to lighter and then to really bright pale. And I wrote the sentiment across it. And for the longest time, that was the whole page, just the words on the background with maybe a little mark making and a little bit of stenciling in the background. And then during a swap, somebody sent me these Russian dolls stamped onto tissue paper, and I thought they were perfect. So I added this part to the page later because they really spoke to the feel of this page. This is one that I did. I obviously I did this one a long time ago, but I recently recreated this as part of one of the art classes that I teach. So I use the same technique, and I think in scrapbooking they call it scrap lifting when you try and recreate something that you've done before. So this is the new one that I just recreated with the same um, techniques. But I do like this. I think the colors are good. It's definitely a lot of color on the page, a lot more orange and yellow than I typically use, but it worked out. I like the simple shapes. It ends up being kind of a beautiful page altogether. So I would call this one a success. Mm, Again, the background here is just, it's kind of a mess. There's collage, there's paint, there's stenciling, there's writing in white, there's writing in black, there's mark making. This image was kind of weird too because her head was cut off and her body was sort of bent to one side, and I tried to make it work on the page, but it looks awkward to me. Um but I love the handwriting. I love this hand lettered the cursive in particular with the white highlights. And I like the sentiment. Go out today and do something that would have gotten you burned at the stake 400 years ago. So, sounds like a good plan to me. This is another page where I used a mask and colored or stamped around it, maybe with black paint, and then outlined again with Posca in order to get the shape really to pop. Sometimes the best way to get things done is to do nothing. I'm working on my color palettes here. The pink and the blue and the yellow sort of work pretty well together, but it is a very chaotic background. I'm not sure that I love that, but I tried again with the rainbow theme. I went from red to orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, Roy G. Biv across the page. This is from one of those, adult coloring books. It makes a pretty good focal point on the page. The black is actually not written directly on the page, but it was mark making onto deli paper, and then I ripped the deli paper up and glued it down. It's not terrible. This is one of the very few pages you'll ever see of mine that actually has some white space. I'm not good at white space. I want to fill it all up. I want to put everything on the page. But I'm trying here. I do like the sentiment. If you're feeling blue, try painting yourself a different color. Thought that was a nice uh, connection to the rest of the background on this page. So this is not terrible. It's pretty good. It takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. This was a quote from Brene Brown that kind of spoke to me, and I thought that I would use this magazine image of this lady on a swing to sort of capture that. The background is better. It's a little bit more muted. It's still a chaotic collage, but I have muted it with gesso and I'm just letting the colors peek through a little bit. There are some places, oh, sorry. There's some places where you can see some blue and some green, and the word yes is colored in, so that jumps off the page. This is not bad. I'm not sure about this one. It's not, kind of middle of the road, I would say. It's not one of my favorites, but it's not awful. This, I'm pretty sure, was from, I don't know, actually. I don't know what this was from. I don't know where I got this sentiment from. Maybe a scrapbooking paper. I was working with a lot of scrapbooking papers when I first started doing this because that was what the supplies that I had, as we all did, right? These are stickers, maybe. They're kind of glossy, and I don't love how they fit on the page with the drawn in leaves and stems that I did with Stabilo. I wish they weren't glossy. That would help maybe with the cohesion on this page. But I was kind of working on arranging things on the page and making sure that my focal points and my words were the right size. So I learned some stuff. I have been learning steadily through this whole book, right? This was pretty good. I like the background. It's not as chaotic as some of the others. It feels pretty cohesive. Let's see, it's hard to really see. It's just collage and then some paint, some layered paints. I like the book page heart flowers and the book page words with this is embossed with like a glitter embossing powder. Pretty successful page. Simple, but holds together nicely. This is actually one of my favorites, and it's a very simple page. But the colors are very unusual for me, and I really like them. This this is a really deep red, and there's gold embossed stamping, and I just have these hearts cut out of a strip of book pages down the side. There's some blue on the page. I just love it. I just like how this all came together. Um, Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. William James. These are from a little set of cards that sort of sit on your desk that you can pull out and change. Let me see if I can find them. I don't have them, and I realized while I was looking that I think I took them into my office at work, and they're like sitting on my desk as inspiration. So that's why they're not here. I can't cut them up anymore. Um, but I'll use just about anything as a title or as a page focal point. So this started with a jelly print of a magazine face and eye. And then so I put that down. It's on like deli paper, I think. And then I started embellishing it and drawing over it and, coloring it in. And I think it works really well. This is another one of my favorite pages. Um, just says trust the universe. There's some really kind of heavy cardstock pieces on here. Like if you feel this, there's a lot of depth on the page, lots of texture on the page. I like the colors. I like the background. I like all of it. This is another favorite. This is a different kind of page. I just wanted to capture maybe the fight between my more outgoing, energetic side and my more introverted, quiet side. So I just tried to show those two elements of my personality. This is all hand lettered, drawn in. I think we all have both of these sides. I'm not, any different from anyone else. I just wanted to highlight that on this particular day, I guess. Catch your breath, take your time. These lemons This was from, I think, a card, like a greeting card that someone sent me, perhaps. And I liked it and used this as the background. I've got some yellow around the edge to tie in with the lemons, but the background is tissue paper with these leaves printed on it. It's not, I don't love the green. I think that the focal point should be bigger, but it's not bad. This one is very bright, the orange and the red. I like the handwriting. I like the circles kind of scattered across the page, like with the stamping only inside the circle and not outside of it. I think that's a cool technique. Um, yeah, it's not a bad page. It's pretty good. This is another one of my favorites. This took a really, really long time because despite how it looks on the page, it was very, very time consuming. Each one of these little squares is a separate piece of watercolor paper that has been painted and cut out and then glued down on the page and then um, stenciled over. So I could have just done it on the page like this, but I, for some reason, chose to do it the hard way. And I hand painted each one of these little watercolor squares. There's a little stamping on some of them. Overall, one of my favorites. I really did like this, how it turned out. This one was actually a fun one to do. I was inspired by this heading on an advertisement in a travel magazine. Detours are greater than plans. And so I pulled out a few other images. These are three different images that I collaged together. The city in the background, this person, and the suitcases. And then I added that over top of a sort of a repetitive collage background with some blue highlights and some Stabilo pencil highlighting each of the collage pieces, some gesso to mute it. I think it worked out pretty well. I like it. In this one, I used acrylic inks down the top of the page in blue and teal, and then I wrote in the lines that were created. I cut out a mask from a magazine of a person meditating, and I glued these washi tape strips to the back of that person and then glued it down. So I've lost the mask forever because I glued it onto the page, but I think that it captures the idea that I was trying to get across. I don't love this page. This was a stamp on tissue paper that I colored in, and it's a great, like theoretically, it's a great focal point, but I don't love the yellow. I don't love the modeling pastes, flowers in the background. I do like the layered book pages and Wild at Heart as a page title. Eh, it could be worse. I do think that I can kind of see as I'm going through this book, I can see absolutely that my art, uh, like I'm getting better at knowing what I like. I'm still experimenting with different things. And so sometimes I show up with things that just don't work or that I don't end up liking. But I feel like I am not making the same mistakes over and over again. At least I'm making different mistakes as I go. This is one of my favorites. I really like this. This is a tissue paper sheet from probably Dina Wakley. Let's see. This is not the same pack, but this is the brand, Dina Wakley Media collage paper. So this is a tissue paper face. I love the bright colors in the background. It's hard to see on camera, but these are very fluorescent colors. Very bright yellow, very bright pinks. I like the four open circles down the side with some stamping inside of them. That is a technique that I picked up a couple of um back here, and I really liked it, so I used that here as well. This was, I'm trying to think how this came together. I had all of these colored papers from a no, from a calendar. It was from a calendar. And I just started cutting shapes out and layering them on the page and then doodling over top of them. And I think the pen worked better than trying to do it with the white Posca. I don't love like that. It makes me cringe. Don't love that at all. But, you know, I do like some of this doodling. This came from a little stamping word set. I think it's designed for like greeting cards, like for somebody making cards, but I used it for this instead and kind of pulled together the words in a way that made some kind of a sentiment for the page. The background is much more subtle than some of my other pages, so I feel like that is a definitely progress. I love this page. This is a weird page too. I don't like the orange splatters across it. This came out of a children's book, probably, I don't know. It looks like a Curious George or something. I'm not sure. It came out of a children's book, and as did this one. And then these words came from like a Dick and Jane reader. Mother said, "Oh, oh, see what I can do? See me work? Here I go." And I just like the idea of these words with this image because doesn't this feel like motherhood and working, whether you're working in the home or not in the home? It is such a balancing act. And so I think I like what this page represents better than I actually like the visuals or the background. I really could do without the orange splatter all over the page. But I like it. And we're almost at the end. This is it. The last page is some stenciling, and this was a piece of ephemera from a little ephemera pack. And this was from a page a day calendar. Unclose your mind. You are not a prisoner. You are a bird in flight, searching the skies for dreams. Haruki Murakami. Probably saying that wrong. But yeah, this is the last page, and I didn't make it a full page spread because this is like a really glossy page, so I just kept it to a single page. The date on this one is May 2021. So I worked on this journal for about a year and a half. No, maybe 2 years, 2.5 years from 2019. Yeah, from January 2019 to May of 2021. And I think that I've come a long way. Like, I think that I learned a lot in that time, and my process got considerably better as I went along. So just remember, oh, sorry. So remember, when you are doing a single piece of art and it doesn't turn out the way that you want, this is not your whole journey, right? This is one step. This is one page in the entire, collection of art. One step on the journey. So don't get discouraged over one or two or five. How many pages in this book did I say, meh, don't love this, don't love that? And it's okay. Like you just keep going, just keep working and you will get better. And I still, years in, I still make art that I don't love. And that's okay. It means that we're trying something new. It means that we're pushing the boundaries and we're trying to learn something and we're experimenting. And that is just part of the process. That's what being creative is all about. So thank you for joining me today as we look through this fun little journal. This is, as I said, the first journal I ever had, and it's fun to revisit. And I'm glad to have done it with you folks today. So thanks. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.